Hello everyone. I just wanted to go over the little bit on cash flows with everyone. I had some questions, and so I want to kind of clear things up a little bit here. So I have a visual for you guys to see. Cash flows, they can be cash coming in, so I have a positive, and then cash going out, so that's going to be a negative, okay? And there are two types of cash flows. There's the equal cash flows, and then there is the unequal cash flows, which means basically, your cash inflows that are coming in through the various years are equal 65,000, and on this side, the cash inflows are unequal, 75, 70, 65, and 2,000. Okay, so we understand what the difference between unequal cash flow is and what equal cash flow is. Now, to make capital decisions, we use different methods. We use the net present value, you use the accounting rate of return, and you use the payback period to sort of make decisions if we should go with the particular project that generate these future or expected cash flows. All right, so let's look at the net present value. The net present value simply is the net of the cash flow. The positive cash inflow minus the cash outflow will give us the negative cash flow. The present value simply implies that we are removing the interest from each of the period that we are going to get the cash for, which is based on the discount rate. So let's go back to the equal cash flow side, and then we're going to talk about the unequal cash flow side. How do we use the tables? Well, there are two sets of tables under the equal cash flow. One is the present value of $1 received at the end, and notice I've highlighted the red in the end in red to tell you that this is for only each period. That means year one, you have a certain factor or a amount, basically using a formula to come up with this amount, and each period you have a particular amount, or what we call as a factor, that your cash inflow gets multiplied by. Okay, and then these numbers here reflect the present value of these cash flows that are coming in the future. So this, $65,000 in the future, which is the end of year one, what does that equate to in today's dollars? $58,045 based on a 12% rate, which is basically we're removing 12% of interest to get the value today. And so everything else is simply the same thing going on all the way through. Just want to give another example. This $41,340 means that is the present value of the $65,000 that we are going to receive in year four. Okay, so if we add up all of the present cash flow, the present cash inflow, we get $197,470. Well, an alternative way of trying to get this same amount, instead of using all of these different factors, is to use the annuity table, or the present value of $1 received each period for a given number of period, which is basically on page 590, table 2 in the textbook. The above table is table 1 in the textbook, and the one in the bottom is table 2. And table 2 is on page 590 and 591, and table 1 is on page 590 588 and 589. Okay, so we've got this from here. But in your assignment, you have basically unequal cash flows. So you cannot use the annuity table. You have to use the present value tables from page 588 and 589. Well, so I think it's pretty straightforward on how you can get this. You have the years, you have the cash flows, you multiply the cash flows by the factors you get from the table 1, and you have all of your present value of the cash flow. And then you subtract your initial cash flow to get your net present value or net present value of the cash flows. And so, you make a decision if it is a positive or negative, and, go by that. And I think you're pretty clear that you would not go with this project because you're getting negative present value cash flows. So again, I'm saying here, you cannot use the annuity table here. The accounting rate of return, I think, is pretty straightforward if you guys use the formula. I'm getting more questions about the payback period, so I want to address that more. Now, with the payback period, you have equal cash flows. If you have equal cash flows, that shouldn't be a problem because you're simply using the formula where you say your initial cash flows divided by your annual net cash inflow. Here, we do not use present value. We do not take out the interest. We simply figure out how many periods does it take to get our money back. So, you take your $250,000 divided by the $65,000 that you're going to get each year, and it takes about 3 years and 3.8 years to get the money back. Now let's talk about this. How do you calculate the payback period when you have unequal cash flows? Well, the book gives you a formula that says, payback period is the cost of investment minus your unequal annual net cash flow. And then there's the star saying in chronological order until a zero balance is reached. So I think there is issues on how folks want to, having trouble trying to use this. Well, so here what we have is that, you have unequal cash flows, okay? So what you want to do is go each year. So look at the first year, okay? First year, the cash inflow was $75,000. It is not sufficient to cover up the $250,000 initial cash outflow. So then we go to the next year. So we take the initial $75,000, add it to the second years of cash flow to get the second years of cash flow, which is $70,000, and find out that the total is $145,000. Well, does it cover the total, the initial amount of cash outflow? Well, no, it's less than the cash outflow. Therefore, we're going to go to the third year, and the third year the cash inflow was $65,000. Well, we take the $65,000, add it to the $145,000, and again, the $145,000 is the cash flow of the first year, the cash flow of the second year. So we add that, and that comes up to the 210. It's actually a positive 210, right? Because it's all cash. It's all cash inflow. Well, the cash outflow was 250. Well, it had the 210 hasn't covered up the 250, but it's by how much? Well, it's 40,000. That's what we need. Well, where are we going to get this 40,000 from? We're going to get that 40,000 from the fourth cash flow. Now, when we go into the third year, we have completed the third year, so we have 3 years that we haven't got it. Now we're into the fourth year, but we take 3 years and maybe approximately 7 months or so to get the remaining 40,000, assuming that the amount of cash coming in each period is equal for each of the period. So that's how we come up with 3.7. Now, if we do that, the amount of investment we will not have covered is zero, because we have covered, we wanted 250,000 to be covered. We've got the cash flow of 250,000. Therefore, the uncovered investment, or the investment that we did not recover, is 0, because 250 is equal to 250. So in your assignment, it should look something like, something like this. I'll I'll copy and paste it here so you guys can see what your eventual outcome should look like. So, this here, your unrecovered investment should be left at 0, and this should be 3.75. Hope you guys understood some of this a little bit more. Let me know if you have any more questions. I think this should clear off a lot of issues. Well, hope you're having a good weekend, and see you next week. Bye-bye.